Yeah, they're on both sides.
Okay, go ahead and make a circle, semicircle on the other side. Yep. Other side, ladies. Make sure you can see. Let's go meet Ms. Kessler now.
Can you all hear me? I'm a bit hard of hearing now, so I always feel like I'm shouting and then discover I wasn't loud enough. How kind of you to come hear my poems. I know most people avoid poetry readings. Unless the poets are children, then we're charmed by their work. I was certainly charmed by children's writings and drawings when I was the editor of the Junior Pantograph. Of course, I was not so charmed by their frequent inability to remember the simplest of rules in submitting their work to the paper. All I needed really was the child's name, address, grade, school, and the signature of a parent or a teacher. You could remember that, couldn't you? If it takes very little time for each child to include this information, but if it's missing, it takes the junior editor a very long time to look it up. And many times the contribution must be thrown away entirely. Sometimes a boy or girl just misses getting a prize because one of these facts is missing. And it wasn't just the children. When I conducted poetry contests for adults, I thought the rules were very clear indeed. Local poets only. But we received submissions from out of state that had to be returned unread. What I don't understand is, how can you be a writer if you're not a reader? Reading is my favorite pastime, as it should be, since I'm a children's librarian. I wrote poems, plays, children's stories, songs. My sister Frances and I wrote songs together. She wrote the music, I the lyrics. Frances inherited the musical talent. I inherited my father's shyness and his attention to detail, which suited me as a librarian, and him as a druggist. When my father was 9 years old, he was given a large bell one morning and told to ring it and call out, "Auction at Kessler's today, auction, auction." He rang the bell, but he was too shy to say a single word. My father worked in his father's drugstore in Warren, Illinois, and then took a job in Normal and eventually had a place of his own. By coincidence, Rachel Crothers' father, Dr. Eli Crothers, also had a drugstore in town. Both Rachel and I wrote plays, but she's the famous one. I was happy to stay at home and contribute to the arts and education in my own community while she went off to New York. I did have a little renown, though. My one-act plays won prizes in local contests, and early on I had a poem published in St. Nicholas magazine, where the famous poet Edna St. Vincent Millay got her start. I had poems published in the Chicago Tribune, and in New York on the radio, an actress said they were written by someone who knows and loves children and who is vitally interested in them, someone who helps shape their lives by every book she recommends. I am vitally interested in the lives of children. I've been so worried about the minds and imaginations of children ever since the era of directed play began. Children are told how to play and what to do during play periods. And at the same time, modern science, with its electrical and mechanical toys, its radio, moving pictures, and automobiles, offers only passive entertainment. They sit and listen, sit and look, sit and ride. Every child needs moments of freedom during the day, for reading and thinking, time for the imagination to grow. Children need green spaces like Withers Park for free and active play in the beauty of nature. And they need interior ways to find beauty. The beauty of spirit in good literature. The beauty of inspiration in the fine arts. The beauty of fulfillment and personal accomplishment. What has been my dream for many years is a children's creative arts building that has all the materials for creative expression and a place for them to exhibit their final work. The eye in every child is important. Given the space and the tools for expression, children will develop idealism, imagination, ingenuity, initiative, inventiveness, industry, and independence. All fine attributes that happen to begin with the letter I. For the building of a better Bloomington tomorrow. Oh, you came for a poetry reading. You got something else instead, part memoir, part lecture. Well, let me close with a brief poem that helps make my point. When I was a little girl, my grandmother taught me knitting, sewing, and tatting, and I knitted blankets for the soldiers in World War I. I also wrote a book of children's war poems to help raise war funds. On the front of the book is a little girl in a Red Cross nurse's uniform. Here's my poem. I'm a little Red Cross girl. See my uniform? I'm knitting for the soldier boys, something nice and warm. Grandma showed me how to knit. Her needles, they just fly. I can't make mine click at all, no matter how I try. Grandma knits and knits on socks and says someday I can. But now I'm knitting on a quilt for some sick soldier man. It doesn't matter if I was never as famous as Rachel Crothers. I know I did something worthwhile with my life, whether it was knitting a blanket for a soldier, writing a poem, recommending a book for a child, or writing a letter to the editor in favor of saving Withers Park when the town threatened to take the land. But it did help to hear Jane Cowell say on the radio, and always remember, there are thousands of Miss Kesslers in America. Yes, those who work in our public libraries are our most potent allies in the fight to make this the kind of country we want it to be. Thank you.